That is weird. There we go. When I first went to send, when you're hosting, you get the opportunity to send it out to your followers in case you're not someone that has the opportunity to go live. When I lifted the lid up to lifted the lid, that's hilarious. There was nobody there. There was a bit of a lag or something. Hello. Say hello, Matthew. I don't speak very many. I speak mostly English. I have a few words in other languages, but that's about it. So yeah, just shuffling cards. I don't know if you have like ADHD, but that's my thing. A lot of times when I'm talking to people, I busy my hands. When I talk on the phone, if I'm not walking, I have dice at the table right now, so I'll be playing with dice or I'll be doodling. I just, yeah. Hello, Doonding. Best Jess. Hello, guys. So we're going to talk about spirituality, a bunch of different things. Feel free to ask questions. I am live on multiple channels, so you'll see me looking in different directions. Yeah, we're going to talk about a few different things, of course, but for the most part, we just free flow here. We just have fun, hang out, learn some stuff, embody it, and then, that's it. I mean, I have no idea if you embody it unless you say you do. And it's the only way you get any changes, though. Right. Hi, Angie. How are you? I'm not. I do tarot readings and I do astrology readings. I'm somebody who just constantly was learning and constantly growing and constantly thinking, oh, maybe it's this thing or maybe it's this thing. You could really say I had a lot of ways demonstrated, ADHD or AUDHD, but at least ADHD. And, because I'm somebody that likes to learn and learn a bunch of different things, and have a bunch of different hobbies. And, when I was in my unhealed space, and that's the space before I really delved into my healing. We're always growing and evolving, I think, little by little, some of us more than others. And, to be fair, some people don't want to change at all. They don't want to grow at all. It's just not even something they're considering. But for most of us, we're all looking at growing a little bit or evolving a little bit. And yeah. Hello. And one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself some likes, because you should like yourself. You should like what you're doing and what you're putting out in the world, right? Your energy that you're putting out there, how you treat other people, the things that you're creating, the energy that you sit in is the energy that you're putting out in the world. So if you're sitting in fear, you're putting more fear out in the world. If you're sitting in anger, you're putting more anger out in the world. If you're sitting in love at 444 up there, then you're sending out more love into the universe. There we go. I put likes on both of my TikTok lives. So I'm live on multiple TikTok channels, and I'm also live on both YouTube and Facebook. So I'll be looking around a bit when I'm talking. So how are things going for you? What are you on Facebook looking for? Because unless you've been here before, right, there has to be something that you're looking for and a reason why maybe you stopped on my live. There might be something that drew you here. I do things around healing and awakening. I love to teach. I really do. I love to give you practical tools that you can use to become more present with yourself, to become more discerning in life. I like to teach people how to think. I think that's something that we stopped doing in many, many, many cases. We just tell people what to think. And then when somebody thinks something different than us, we tell them that's wrong. Hi, Jer. How are you, love? I'm fantastic. Today is actually a full moon in true sidereal Capricorn. And that means it's opposing Cancer. But in mainstream, they're all talking about how it's a full moon in Aquarius, based on a sky that was frozen in time 10,000 years ago. Sorry, 2000. I went too far with my exaggeration. I was being playful. Yeah, frozen in time 2,000 years ago. How are you, Jer? I was playing with the lights or something, like getting some bright lights here. There was somebody there that was I like that. That's an intro muted by a weird mod. That's an interesting name. Hi, I am Leela. How are you? So yeah, the one question that I was asking is, what were you looking for as you're going on TikTok when you're looking at your lives? What are you looking for? What are you looking to learn? Because in a moment, I'm just going to start teaching it as whatever feels right to me, and you guys are just going to be stuck with it. But you could always give me a couple of questions. You could, whatever you want. We can talk about that. But oh yes, I do want to check in on the energy. Like I said, I do tarot readings, and I make my own tarot decks and oracle decks, and I write books, and I make courses, and I run a nonprofit. I do a lot of things, but I totally love my life. So I hope that you can get to that spot too, where I have a lot of rest time too. There's times when I go outside and I just sit and listen to the birds, or take my dog for a walk, and really take him for a long walk. And it could be in the middle of any day that you do that. But there's nights when I'm not stopping working until 11, because you just get in a good space, like you get in a flow state. And that's how life's meant to be, is flow and structure. So there's certain things that you lay out that you have to do or accomplish each week. But for the rest of the time, you're in that flow, allowing your heart to kind of take you in the direction where you need to go, or choose the action for you. The most aligned thing at this moment is what is the only thing you need to be doing. What is the most aligned thing for you in this moment? All right, we've got some cards. Let's see what we have down here. Wow. They went, huh. All right. They really got underneath the desk. I might have to, I had my cards I have to keep shuffling. I need to give them a really good shuffle, because I had them all put together in separate suits. I do more questions around spirituality, awakening, and healing. I'm in a, oh my goodness. But I do give cards occasionally. I like to use cards to check in on the energy, to see what's happening with everything. I used to do that on my lives all the time. For years, I gave cards, and I used to spend I used to spend 3 hours a day just giving out cards. And, it was, it kind of burned me out from doing that because it was like literally for peanuts. So then I said, no more big, yeah, it just, I was, anyway. Yeah, I still need to keep shuffling these because these cards, all that fell out, they're all major arcana. Oh my goodness. Okay. They're jumpy tonight. Maybe they're saying we shouldn't use them. So, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to know? I love to teach, I'll tell you that. I love to teach people, like I said, how to get more connected with themselves. I should probably either I think when I get really talking, then I drop the cards. But anyway, all right, I'm smack them a bit, and then we'll see what we can do. Okay, like I said, holy, they are hopping today. I help people with trauma, mental health. I help people with spirituality. I know that seems kind of vague, but what I do is I have some unique gifts and talents. And one of those is that I have the ability to see the field of consciousness. And not all the time. I have to work to get into a state where I can, and then I can interact with it. And I was a nurse for over 20 years. I had an enormous amount of trauma as a child and a teenager. My life was pretty friggin' scary. Does whatever get tiring or overwhelming? I balance really, really well. It's a lot of grounding. One of the things that we're supposed to do is we're supposed to find our way back to nature, back to what's natural, because you are nature, you're natural. And we have to remind ourselves that life is sacred. Your life is sacred. My life is sacred. The bee, the bumblebee, all of the bumblebee, right? Let's reiterate that, right? All life, whether you see it or you don't see it, that life is sacred. So I like to say all life, seen and unseen, is sacred. And when we restore that concept to society, that's when we'll have new earth, right? And whether that's done by, we get so many people doing that, that it's that wave that overwhelms, we've hit the tipping point. We've already won. And that's the one thing that we need to remember, is that the good always wins, right? They want to paint the picture that there's no hope, that there's no possible way out of this, and that there's no hope. And it's really as easy as we just don't participate in it anymore. We decide that anything that opposes life, we oppose because we are life. When they fabricate things such as, as ideas of lack, like lack of space, lack of food, lack of air, lack of water, lack of necessities, when they promote that, they give the ability for them to then turn around and say, hey, now we can get rid of people, which we have to oppose. We have to oppose that, right? There's a lot of in the news where there's talk of billionaires and depopulation plans, right? That should be opposed. Who wants to volunteer when they say they want to depopulate the earth? Who wants to volunteer? Right? We need to be standing up against that type of stuff, right? All right. So the card that came out when I felt like I have sufficiently shuffled them was the Knight of Air. This is fast moving energy. Air is about the mental space. These are my cards. These are ones that I created. They're called the Etherian Tarot, and that's because they have the ether element in them as well. So the card for you'll see some cards potentially, if I pull enough, you'll see cards that maybe are from that. I did all the pictures of it, and so thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so this means rapid movement. It's intellectual clarity, swift action, decisive choices, truth revealed, and mental breakthroughs. So this is a beautiful card. One thing that's happened recently is that we have left Mercury retrograde. So of course, we're going to be more in that forward movement when it comes to communication, when it comes to signing contracts, making decisions. Our mental, we're going to be moving in that forward direction again. So that's a beautiful energy to have. So the Knight of Air is the warrior of truth and clarity. This card calls you to trust your intellect, act with confidence, and move forward with purpose. A powerful realization is coming. Be ready to seize it. So I'm interested to find out what the powerful realization you received from this card. Hi, CP. How are you? All right, let's see what else we have for the collective. Oh my goodness. I need to, at some day, I need to get these cards professionally printed. It's on my list to do, but it's definitely, I have to do the work to get it there. So we have the wheel. The wheel in the upright is destiny. It's change, divine timing, the cycles of life. It's new opportunities, fate aligning in your favor, and again, movement. Things are starting to pick up. Have you felt that energy? Hi, Donald. Have you felt that energy, like this, the energy that things are starting to pick up? I definitely have. For a while there, it felt very sluggish and yeah, just very, but it's okay. You have to go through the seasons that you go through and enjoy those quiet moments, because it can get really busy really fast. And that's kind of what I'm getting from these cards is about to pick up really quickly for people. So the wheel reminds you that nothing is stagnant. Everything moves in cycles. Embrace the rhythm of change, align with divine flow, and trust that each turn brings you closer to your highest path. Okay. All right, let's see what else we have for the collective. Oop. We got to do that one. All right, so we've got the 6 of fire, but she's in the inverted or reverse position. And what this means is there's an inner victory, but you're not seeing the results of whatever you've been doing on the outside yet, right? So with this one here, there's that you're validating yourself. And that's a powerful thing, because we have to validate ourselves before we can receive it from other people. Okay, so it's important that we do that. But this card can also represent that maybe we're dealing with some imposter syndrome, or there's a fear of the spotlight. But this card has a very, very, very positive message to it. So when you determine whether or not you're blocking yourself from receiving validation from somebody else, or you have that fear of imposter syndrome, you get the results of it, which is the 6 of fire reminds you that your journey has been seen and honored. Take this moment to celebrate, but also to recognize that your fire is now a guiding force for others. Keep shining, keep leading, and keep rising. I was trying to combine them both. All right, let's see. We'll do maybe one more card. Maybe. What else do we have here?
That was so many.
That is too many. One of these days I'll print them, because then they'll shuffle just a little bit better. I printed the pictures off on my printer, and then I glued them all to watercolor paper. And sometimes they stick to, like, they get caught in one another, but for the most part they work really well. I think there's a little bit of maintenance I need to do with it right now. I think there's a couple that are peeling, and I just need to go and re-glue them, and then they'll work great again. All right. You know what? I have a better idea. Instead of the tarot, how about we do the oracle? These ones I also made. These are the 44 keys of the way. So this is about consciousness, about Christ consciousness, in fact, but it doesn't have to be that particular thing. It's when we find out the truth about consciousness, or when we find out the truth about reality, right? That's what we're supposed to be seekers of, because to me, I don't want to live in a dream. I don't want to be lied to. And I don't want to just, like, I want to know the truth and then make the decisions from that truth, what the best decision or most aligned decision is for me. We've got a lesson coming up. Oh, no, that's okay. We learn from our lessons. This is every experience carries wisdom. Repetition signals a lesson not yet integrated. Once learned, patterns resolve. Insight reduces friction. So your practice is to name a repeating pattern, write the lesson, and then choose one new response. Okay? These ones I did I watercolor painted them all. I've done a few decks. I have books published, and I have the cards. Ooh, because it keeps coming up. So for me, for a long, long time, I had previously experienced, there we go. I previously experienced where I was abundant, but I had no money. And that's a weird space to be in. And I can't really, like, it's not something that I talk about, like, necessarily online. But that is the experience that I've had. So if you keep having that experience of, let's say I have a great experience, many of us have those experiences too. When I went through my healing journey, one of the things that I said was that the common denominator in all of my relationships was me. So if I was having relationships that kept not working out for a variety of reasons, although they all seem to be the same kind of similar reasons, well, when that's the case, then you have to look at yourself and say, what is it in me that's aligning with that? What is it that I'm doing to receive that? Because it's not that every single person that, or every single opposite sex, same sex, doesn't matter, but every single person that you're in a relationship that fails, it's not because they are all the bad guys, right? There's something in you that at least resonated with it. You just have to look at what are the things that are coming up for you repeatedly? What are the patterns that are showing up in your life? Right? If you kept losing your job, for instance, right? If you kept losing your job, then that would be something that would be the pattern that you're seeing. If, the pattern is that every time, you're doing this one thing, somebody gets mad at you. Then you have to reflect on, well, what is that I'm doing, and why are they getting mad? It doesn't mean that it's your fault, right? Fault and all of that responsibility stuff. That's not what that's about, in the sense of, like, saying that you're the one that is guilty. It's not about that. It's just about understanding what part you play in the things that you see showing up in your life over and over and over, right? If you're constantly losing your job, you have to look at, what am I doing in the workplace that is getting me to lose my job? And if it's my health, like I keep getting sick all the time. Well, then what can you do to address your health? Most often, you have to look at your mental health, because we don't, and that's a significant factor in us being unhealthy. Trauma, significant thing in us being unhealthy. It really does lead to addictions of food, addictions of TV, addictions of all kinds of things, right? Mm-hmm. My throat got a really good tickle in at that time. Oh my God. Hi, Donald. Welcome back. All right, let's see if we can get anything else from the oracle cards, just general for the collective, and what we can get from that. Yeah, I have a course coming up in August. I have some announcements. Okay. So I own two companies, or partially, I own this one and I partially own another one, and our co-founder in Hugs for Homeless. And so I have a nonprofit, and this is based in Edmonton, Alberta, and surrounding areas. And what Hugs for Homeless does, just my poster. What Hugs for Homeless does is we get donations from the community, and we build backpacks with them that are filled with essentials that we then distribute out into the community. Okay, so these backpacks that we distribute out into communities, we are doing a backpack drive for 2 months. I don't do that. So we're doing this backpack. It's the Hugs backpack drive for 2 months, and we're calling on the city of Edmonton and surrounding areas to come together to see if we can help 1,000 people in the next 2 months getting a bag with essentials into the community, the unhoused communities, because the numbers keep rising. And so if we can't address the entire problem, the least that we can do is make the situation more manageable by bringing hope and dignity and kindness to people who are often forgotten about, just because the way that, it's twisted in media is to make them look like they're terrible people. Oftentimes they're people just like you and me. I ended up being homeless when I was starting my company. I lived with my mom, and people would say, well, that's not homeless. Well, it is, because my mom lived in a seniors building and I wasn't allowed to be there. So I had to pretend that I wasn't there. She didn't have 2 bedrooms. I didn't have that kind of space. So, it's something that it can happen to anybody. Right. And so, we're doing the backpack drive. So I'm my partner, my like the partner in Hugs, they don't think that that we can do 1,000. They think that's a very lofty goal. So I'm challenging you guys to help me prove him wrong. Okay. Help me prove him wrong. Help me prove him that Edmonton and surrounding areas can be more than generous to get 1,000 backpacks into the community. All right, let's see what other cards we have coming out. Oh, and another announcement. Sorry. So for my other company, which is Anshara'El, for this company, I am running a 7-day course the 3rd week in August. I'm actually, let me see. I'm going to look at my calendar just so I can tell you the exact days. My mouse is not working on in the spot that I have it. So it will be Monday, the 17th of August until Sunday. I just have to make sure that there's no holidays on that week or the next week. I don't think there is. Okay, so till Sunday the 23rd. So from Monday the 17th till Sunday the 23rd, 7 evenings. It's called Return to Center, and it's about a 30-minute. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Have a wonderful time, and I'll see you again. Thanks. Appreciate you. Oh, I lost my English too. Bye. Sorry, I covered you up to look at the calendar, so I have to mark that. I'll just leave it like that. It's fine. Okay. All right. Do you have any questions? Where are you signing in from? Where are you watching from? Because I have a couple of channels that I'm broadcasting to through that particular channel. And if you're watching for a little while, you should give it a like or a comment, because when you do those things, it helps me, right? Yeah. Today, like I said, is a full moon in Capricorn. Are you doing anything for the full moon? Where am I looking for? don't think no, it's not that. There we are. Oh yeah. Sometimes I have to be careful because I end up missing the chat on StreamYard for some reason. So I like to make it really big so it's standing out so that I don't miss it if you're chatting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about like, how do you know? Actually, I don't know. I don't know if that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I've been reading or teaching about consciousness, but and doing education on it for the school. I do nervous system support work, trauma work, stuff like that. So, do you have any questions? Hello, how are you? I always look at the name and then I'm like, wait a second, I'm looking like this, right? Rather than hi. I read and then focus on your name. It's funny. Good. Whereabouts in Canada? I'm in Alberta, George. Hi, crazy dog mom. How are you, love? Nice. I've been there. My son lives in Nova Scotia, but he lives out by like out near Windsor, I think. Yeah. Aw, thank you. Great. I'll take it. um, so yeah, I've been teaching. I think I was talking about teaching about consciousness anyway. And okay. So when we're doing, we can be cultivating reason. Yeah, it is. It's 3 hours ahead for sure. How are you, dog mom? So, if you were wanting to cultivate reason, the way that you would do that is for the next 7 days, you would choose one ordinary experience each day and investigate it as though you're seeing it for the first time. So it could be conversation, it could be a tree, preparing a meal, a disagreement, sunrise, a news article, the behavior of a bird. You begin with observation before explanation, and then you move slowly through the questions. What did I actually observe? So you're separating direct observation from interpretation. What relationships can I identify? So you're looking for your patterns, the consequences. What assumptions did I bring? So you want to notice what expectations, beliefs, or prior experiences that shaped your thinking. What evidence supports my understanding? What have you directly observed? What information is well supported? And what remains uncertain? And then what alternative explanations are possible? Practice intellectual flexibility without abandoning your discernment. And then what have I learned about reality? Not simply about the topic, not about reality itself. And then finally, ask the most important question. How has this investigation changed me? Because the goal of consciousness education is never information alone. The goal is transformation. Right? The goal is transformation. So how is your life? How is your journey? Right? It's like a journey right now. What are you working on? What are you struggling with? What are you, you know? I do have my letter or my note, my channeled note that I haven't read that yet today. And I always read it on my live whenever I have a live, I read my morning channeled spiritual message. So we're going to check in and see what the channeled spiritual message was for this morning. Okay. My dear children who were born upon my back, can you remember that I am your home? Yeah. Can you remember that you are as natural as the bird, the fox, the bunny, and the bear? You are not an animal, but you are still natural and from nature. I hold everything you require: wood for your home, cotton for your clothes, vegetables and fruit for your tummy, sun and fire for heat. The air you breathe is all provided by me for you. No one owns me. No one owns my resources. No one owns the elements. The darkness that mm. Sometimes I have a hard time reading my writing. The darkness that roams upon my skin and burrows beneath the surface is a plague, and it has been running for too long. We together will rid the world of this infection, not through war. That hurts me so. No one owns the elements, but we can work with them, all seen and unseen helpers who are aligned with the sacredness of life. Those who choose to hoard wealth while children die of hunger shall have their wealth stripped from them. Those who harm the children will be removed. Those who poison me, the elements, or my children will be dealt with. All you need to do to help is to stand firm in your truth, deny anything that opposes life, and stand with the seen and unseen life or helpers. Remember, water, air, fire, earth, and ether are alive. Remember and enter into relationship. I am your mother and I am alive. I'm not just dirt and rock. I have a heart and it beats for you. Remember me. And I was like, that was a pretty nice little message from Mother Gaia. She came through very strong in that message. What do you think about that? Right? The messages, you can do it too. That's really, explain to everybody is that that's not something that I'm not special because I do it. I just do it because I do it consistently, right? Every single day I get up and I meditate and I tone and, like I do ahs and ohms and routine. And part of that morning routine is to ask for a message and then just write whatever comes up. I'm not, so it's asking, right? And then just being open and then doing the work consistently. And everybody else can do it. You just have to get yourself into state, ask for a question, write the message, and then just trust yourself. That's one of the hardest things that we have to learn, right? So in August, on the third week of August, I have Return to Center, which is a 7-evening course. It's about an hour long each night. And I know that might seem like a lot, but you're going to get a lot of information around your decisions, all of that. To have 2 member spaces, and these have 2 live healing. So it's a real somatic experiencing with journaling, with all kinds of things like your triggers. Other group is the embodied leadership group, and this is for people who are more on their awakening path, where the healing portion has stabilized a bit more. So this is about walking your truth and, you know, learning the truth, right? So this is that embodied leadership group. Next month, I always allow people to do a drop in. I allow a limited amount of people to do a drop in for the classes. Because it could be disruptive to the groups. In the Balanced Self Sanctuary, the first group, the first live is the stories we tell ourselves. It's how your inner dialogue shapes your nervous system. And then the second live is self-trust is built, not found, learning to trust yourself again. And then in the embodied leadership circle, the first live in August is courage over comfort, leading when the path isn't certain. And then the second live is influence begins with presence, leadership without control. So those ones can be drop-in classes for anyone who who thinks that that might be and it's something that they'd be interested in learning or experiencing. That's kind of a way you get to try out the group before joining it, which can be nice for some people. I kind of try at half the rate before you buy, because the drop-in rate is half the rate of what the membership space is. Okay, okay. I think I got all the notices out. The Hugs Backpack Drive, September and October. No, there's one more. Return to Self is my 8-week program. That starts up September 2nd, I believe, is the first day that it starts up. It's 8 weeks, a total of 12 sessions that help you to return to yourself. It's learning all that emotional regulation stuff, how to do shadow, there's shadow work aspects, inner child healing, all kinds of stuff that's all rolled up into this course that returns you to the truth of who you are and allowing yourself to navigate through life by remaining more present with it. Yeah. That's all the announcement. It's a lot, right? Yeah. It is. It's a really good course. I've done it for many years now. I was a nurse, and then when I did my healing journey, I realized how the medical system is failing people. And I started to teach. I went into learning all about trauma and mental health and all the greats and all the courses that I could get. And I worked in an inpatient addictions and mental health facility as a trauma educator, where I did sessions with people talking about their trauma. I've been doing my company for 5 years now, and I still do nervous system and trauma support sessions at on my website. I do one-to-one sessions, so it's a Zoom meeting where it's dependent upon you, what you bring to me, how I'm going to support you in that. So it's hard. It's a session where it's kind of hard to say what exactly I'm going to do. But if, let's say, you're somebody who has never, ever, ever, ever had one therapy session, or, if you did, maybe you had some bad therapy experiences, that first session, if you don't have that history of any healing and stuff, I'm probably going to teach you about soothing, about containers, about safe spaces. Like I'll do all the things that therapists should do prior to starting into therapy with you. But most therapists just start talking and ask you what you're there for. And then you open Pandora's box, and then they send you home and say, I'll see you next week after, you talked for 45 minutes. And then you're just like, okay, but what do I do with this now? I like to start with safety. I like to start with, giving somebody the practical tools so that they can support their nervous system. It doesn't do us any good to re-traumatize ourselves or to re-trigger our nervous system, right? What we're trying to do is teach our nervous system safety again, because our nervous system was taught it wasn't safe all the time. And it was taught at a very, very tender young age that it was not safe a lot, right? So we need to be reminding ourselves that what safety is. And teaching our nervous system that. And that's the beautiful thing about your nervous system, is it can learn, it's learning every day, and you can teach it, no problem. It's just, you got to have some consistency. If you don't have consistency, it's probably not going to work. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good, it's a good practice to have the safety and the containers and all of that first. Yeah. So let me see here if I can, let me see if I can find, because I've got a lot of different things that I'm doing at the same time. Yeah. What did I call it? Think, 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 think. And then you have to be able to actually type. Okay, so you want to know more about return to self? So this I haven't put on the website yet, because I got to get that done. So this is my sales copy. Okay, this is the sales copy for it. It's an 8-week live journey of remembering, rebuilding, and becoming. There comes a moment on every healing journey when understanding is no longer enough. You've read books, you've reflected on your story, and you've begun to understand your nervous system, your patterns, and the experiences that shaped you. Now it's time to ask a different question. What am I becoming? Return to Self is an 8-week live experience designed to help you move beyond surviving and into intentional living. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about removing the layers of fear, conditioning, and survival that have kept you disconnected from who you have always been. Together, we'll explore what it means to live from self-awareness, self-trust, and embodiment rather than old patterns and protective strategies. This is where understanding becomes lived experience. This program is for you if you find yourself saying, I know what my patterns are, but I still fall into them. I've done so much healing, but I don't feel like I'm truly living. I'm ready to stop surviving and creating the life I actually want. I want to trust myself again. I know there's more to me than the roles I've been playing. And if that resonates, then this journey was created for you. So it's not for those that are in the crisis space of their healing journey, right? Because there are different levels of that. And if you're not someone that's ready to do the work, then this course wouldn't be for you, because this course is about embodiment, right? Like there's the practice of, I have to actually do the work, and it's for people that are ready for that stage. Because maybe what they've been doing before, nobody's been, teaching these specific elements. So over the 8 weeks, you'll develop a deeper understanding of yourself while building the practical skills needed to create lasting change. Together, we'll explore returning to safety, building an internal foundation where growth becomes possible, understanding your identity, discovering the difference between who you are and the protective strategies you've developed, rewriting limiting patterns, learning how awareness, practice, and new experiences reshape your life, boundaries, relationships, and authenticity, creating relationships that honor your values and your well-being, living from self-trust, strengthening your ability to make decisions that align with who you are becoming and then embodied purpose, living from intention instead of reaction. So what makes this different? Many personal growth programs focus on insight. Insight is valuable, but insight alone doesn't create change. Real transformation happens when understanding is supported by consistent practice, nervous system regulation, and new lived experiences. Return to self bridges that gap. This is an educational, experiential journey designed to help you integrate what you learn into everyday life. Through this journey, you'll receive 8 live week teaching sessions, practical embodiment exercises, guided reflections and journaling prompts, nervous system practices to support integration, opportunities for discussions and questions, and a supportive community of individuals walking a similar path. So every other Saturday, I'm going to have a class. It's an integration class, and it's also for those who maybe were unable to attend the live classes for the other 2 sessions. And then they have an opportunity to come and ask questions along with everybody else, if there's any questions that anyone has at that point in time. So by the end of the journey, you'll have greater self-awareness, an increased nervous system resilience, stronger self-trust, practical tools for navigating everyday life, healthier boundaries, and a clearer understanding of who you are and how you want to live. Most importantly, you'll leave with the confidence to continue growing long after the program ends, because the goal isn't for you to depend on this community forever. The goal is for you to develop the understanding, skills, and confidence to become your own safe space. Your invitation, there is a version of you that already exists beneath the fear, beneath the expectations, and beneath the survival patterns, beneath the roles you've played. This journey isn't about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you've always been and learning to live from that place with courage, clarity, and intention. If you're ready to stop simply understanding yourself and begin embodying the life you're here to live, I'd be honored to walk alongside you. So there. Are you following me? I will approve it. Because I typically don't DM people. I get them to DM me first. Send me a message first. Okay, send me a message first. And then I'll remember to send you that information. Okay. Thank you for hanging out. I forgot to bring my music in. So it's just quiet here, guys, but that's okay. Perfect. Thank you. That way there I can stick with I don't DM people. They have to message me first before I respond. So that's perfect. What does that mean? I'm girl Diddy. If you're meaning like P Diddy, is that what you mean? I'm just curious if that's what you mean. Right? Like, okay, cool. There. We don't need that kind. We don't need that kind around here. Right? We do not. Yeah. There we go. Okay, so we were talking about reason. That's what we were talking about, was reason. And I was talking about, at this point, we're talking about the fruits of mature reason. A tree is known by its fruit. The same is true of every faculty of consciousness. Just realized I covered up my comments again. I looked at the sales copy and I covered up my comments, and that's what I do. And then I forget about it. And if somebody says something on YouTube, that's just. All right. So a tree is known by its fruit. The same is true of every faculty of consciousness. We do not measure the maturity of reason by the number of books a person has read, nor by the number of degrees they have earned, nor by their ability to win arguments. Reason matures through the quality of the life it helps create. As reason develops, certain qualities begin appearing naturally. The first is clarity. Clarity is not the same as certainty. Clarity is the ability to distinguish between observation and interpretation, between evidence and assumption, between possibility and conclusion, between what is known and what remains unknown. Clear thinking does not eliminate mystery. It simply prevents us from confusing mystery with confusion. The second fruit is coherence. Mature reason naturally seeks harmony between ideas. It notices contradictions without fearing them. Rather than forcing reality to fit existing beliefs, it asks whether understanding itself must become more complete. Coherence is not achieved by ignoring differences. It emerges by exploring how apparently separate truths may relate within a larger whole. The third fruit is discernment. Discernment is the quiet wisdom that asks, what belongs here? What does not? What is appropriate in this moment? Discernment recognizes that the same answer is not appropriate in every circumstance. The right action depends upon relationship, context, timing, and consequence. This cannot be learned through information alone. It develops through observation. Yes, I do. Experience, humility, and reflection. The fourth fruit is intellectual courage. Reason asks us to examine ideas honestly. You can ask, I will tell you if I'm going to answer them when I see them. Reason asks us to examine ideas honestly. Sometimes those ideas belong to other people. Sometimes they belong to us. Both require courage. There are moments when following evidence asks us to question assumptions we have held for years. There are moments when direct experience challenges accepted explanations. There are moments when saying, I was mistaken, becomes one of the most truthful things we can say. This is not weakness, this is integrity. The fifth fruit is humility. Perhaps no quality better reflects mature reason. The more deep a person investigates reality, the more they recognize its extraordinary complexity. Humility is not thinking less of ourselves. I keep looking down to see if you're going to answer the question, like looking for the question. And then I get myself all fuddled in my words. The more deeply a person investigates reality, the more they recognize its extraordinary complexity. Humility is not thinking less of ourselves, it's thinking more honestly about our relationship with reality. It allows confidence without arrogance, expertise without superiority, conviction without rigidity. Humility keeps curiosity alive. The sixth fruit is wonder. Many people assume knowledge diminishes mystery. The opposite is often true. The astronomer who understands stellar evolution often feels greater awe beneath the night sky. The biologist who studies living cells often discovers deeper appreciation for life. The naturalist who spends decades observing forests rarely finds them becoming ordinary. Reason deepens wonder because it reveals relationships previously unseen. Knowledge expands appreciation. Wonder protects reason from becoming mechanical. Reason protects wonder from becoming fantasy. Together, they invite both investigation and reverence. The seventh fruit is wisdom. Wisdom is not simply accumulated knowledge, neither is it intelligence alone. Wisdom emerges when observation, reason, evidence, experience, relationship, intuition, and contemplation begin working together. Wisdom asks not only what is true, it also asks what serves life. Knowledge can build extraordinary technologies. Wisdom asks how they should be used. Knowledge can produce immense power. Wisdom asks whether that power contributes to the flourishing of humanity and the living earth. Knowledge informs, wisdom guides. Perhaps this is why the wisest people throughout history often appear remarkably ordinary. They listen carefully, they observe deeply, they speak thoughtfully, they remain teachable. They continue learning. They recognize that reality is always greater than their current understanding. This is the maturity toward which reason naturally grows, not the certainty of possessing truth, but the integrity of continually seeking it. The purpose of reason is therefore not to become clever, its purpose is to become clear, not to dominate conversation, but to illuminate understanding, not to defeat others, but to serve truth. When reason reaches this level of maturity, it no longer seeks recognition. It quietly becomes one of the greatest acts of love. For to seek truth with honesty is one of the deepest ways we honor one another, ourselves, and the living world we share. Hello, hello. How are you? Good evening. Say hello. What time are we at? 8:30. All righty. All righty. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the nervous system now. I did a little talk about knowledge because one of the things at Anshara'El is the School of Light. And like I said, within that, I want to teach you what to think, not what to think, how to think. That's how it goes. I don't want to think you, do not want to teach you what to think. I want to teach you how to think. And that was what I was covering there with the part about reason being the second way of knowing. The third way of knowing is evidence, but we're not going to talk about that tonight. Instead, we're going to go back and talk about the nervous system and, about healing our nervous system. So why insight alone doesn't heal the nervous system. Have you ever found yourself saying, I know why I react this way, so why do I keep doing it? Did you ever say that? Anybody? I know why I react this way, so why do I keep doing it? I know I've said it before. It's one of the most common questions I hear from people who are deeply committed to their healing. Roxanne, hello, love. Hello, hello. How are you? We're going to talk about the nervous system and healing. I mean, you might be on here just to have some fun, or maybe you on here to learn some stuff. So I know why I act this way, so why do I keep doing it, right? How many times have I know I've said that before. I know why I react this way, so why do I keep doing it? And people have read the books, they've listened to the podcasts, they've attended workshops, they understand their childhood experiences. They can understand, they can identify their triggers and maybe even recognize the patterns are unfolding as they happen. But despite all of that insight, they still find themselves becoming overwhelmed, shutting down, people pleasing, overworking, or reacting in ways that they promised themselves that they wouldn't. And that often leads to frustration and self-criticism. If I know better, why can't I do better? Right? Like, I know I don't want to do this anymore, but why do I keep doing it? And so the answer is actually, it's both simple and it's deeply compassionate, because insight and regulation are not the same thing. Your thinking brain and your nervous system, they learn in different ways. So understanding is not the same as embodying. Insight is valuable. It helps us make sense of our experience. It allows us to connect the dots between our past and present. Hello, Abdul. How are you, love? It can reduce shame by helping us realize that there was a reason why our bodies adapted the way that they did. That understanding matters. It definitely matters. But understanding alone doesn't automatically change the body's response. Imagine learning everything there is to know about swimming. You could study water dynamics, memorize every stroke, and watch countless instructional videos. Yet, until you step into the water and begin practicing, your body has not actually learned to swim, right? And the nervous system works much the same way. Reading about safety is different from experiencing safety. Knowing how to regulate is different from practicing regulation. It can help. It can help. Anything that connects you to your body, and if there's a mind component to it, like yoga and Tai Chi and Qigong and all of those, same thing, right? So the nervous system learns through experience. A lot of times people do it until they feel better and then they stop doing it again, right? It's almost like the person that goes on the diet till they lose a bit of weight and then they stop dieting and regain the weight, right? We get that yo-yo dieting happening. And it's because the underlying thing isn't being addressed, or there isn't a consistent day-to-day practice. And I find that with a lot of people, right? No, I was a registered nurse for over 20 years. I started my own company. I trained in a lot of things surrounding the nervous system, mental health, trauma. I did quantum healing as well. I studied with a shaman. I have 9 years post-secondary education. I have 21 books written and published and more in the works. And I have an enormous amount of lived experience. The biggest thing is the lived experience with my trauma and healing journey, which gives me a unique way of teaching people, because I'm teaching you from the fact that I have embodied those practices. So I can basically show you the proof of the work, the results of what's happened, right? Like how my life has drastically changed. So we're all energy, right? Quantum regression and integration therapy is when I basically take you and I put you into state. And there's a whole bunch of things with quantum healing, which was not what I was planning on talking about in this live. But the one way that I was trained was quantum regression and integration therapy, which is, if you've ever heard of Dolores Cannon, she did a quantum hypnosis technique. It not that, but it has some pieces pulled from that, the individual that developed the particular program. So you're able to put somebody into state and then walk them into a healing space and allow them to process through a lot of different things using that practice. And it can be very, very healing and in a short amount of time. So it's very effective for certain people. But again, there's always the practical component to everything that you're doing in your life. You may be able to relieve a lot of trauma all at once, but that doesn't mean that your nervous system is going to automatically restore that regulation. That regulation, that safety that is built in your nervous system, it's built over time and consistency. They tend to be uncomfortable. Yeah, I'm kind of I teach some really great things on here, you know. I teach some really great things on here. I'm sure there's some for sure. Hmm. Yeah. Oh, hello, Ender. How are you? Don't know if you stayed. So the nervous system learns through experience, and it's constantly gathering information from both your internal and your external environments. It pays attention to things such as your facial expressions, the facial expressions of others, the tone of voice, body posture, breathing patterns, muscle tension, predictability, connection with others, and physical sensations. Long before your conscious mind interprets a situation, your nervous system has already begun asking one important question: am I safe? Hi, Uzma. How are you? If the answer feels uncertain, your body may shift into protective patterns such as fighting, fleeing, freezing, fawning, or becoming highly productive to maintain a sense of control. A lot of OCD is formed through trauma, and it's just a function in which you're trying to control your environment in order to stay safe. They are learned survival strategies. Repetition changes the brain. One meaningful conversation will not erase years of chronic stress. One meditation will not completely rewire decades of protective patterns. Not because healing is impossible, but because the nervous system changes through repetition. Every time you practice slowing your breath, every time you notice tension and soften your shoulders, every time you stay present with a difficult emotion instead of immediately escaping it, you are offering your nervous system new evidence. These experiences gradually become the foundation for new neural pathways. This process is known as neuroplasticity, the brain's remarkable ability to recognize itself through repeated experiences. Healing is not about forcing yourself to become someone different. It is about giving your nervous system enough consistent experiences that it no longer needs yesterday's protective strategies to navigate today's world. Why we need the body. Many of us have become exceptionally skilled at living from the neck up. I did it. I used to say, I feel like, I think I feel. I think I feel. I didn't say I feel. It was I think I feel, because I would process my feelings through my logic center, which many of us do. So many of us become exceptionally skilled at living from the neck up. We analyze, we explain, we intellectualize, we understand. Yet we rarely pause to ask, what is my body experiencing right now? The body carries information that words cannot express, not always express anyway, like a racing heart, a clenched jaw, a tight chest, shallow breathing, heavy legs, butterflies in the stomach. These sensations are not problems to eliminate. They are messages to become curious about. Typically, we look at them and we're like, well, it's the age that I'm at, or it's because I'm tired, or it's because I ate something, or it's because, like I'm working out. We think everything that we're experiencing in our body is a physical thing, and it has either come to us through something that we've ingested, some illness that we've picked up, some disease we've got, or some something along those lines, right? Some injury. We don't often consider that it's coming from our nervous system from being dysregulated, or that it's giving us messages from that we should become curious about. So learning to notice them without immediately trying to change them is often one of the first steps toward greater regulation. Healing is rarely built through dramatic breakthroughs alone. More often, it grows through ordinary moments practiced consistently. Taking 3 slower breaths before answering an email. Feeling your feet on the floor during a difficult conversation. Looking around the room to remind yourself that you are here now, not back there. Receiving kindness without immediately dismissing it. Allowing yourself to rest without believing you must earn it first. These moments may seem small, but your nervous system notices them. Over time, these repeated experiences begin to shift what your body expects from the world. Be patient with the process. Hi, Liv. How are you? If you've ever felt discouraged because you know better but still react automatically, I want you to remember this. Your nervous system isn't resisting healing, is following the patterns that once helped you survive. Those patterns deserve understanding, not judgment. With compassionate awareness, consistent practice, supportive relationships, and experiences of genuine safety, your nervous system can learn new possibilities. Healing is not about becoming someone else. It's about helping your body discover that it no longer has to carry yesterday's survival strategies into today's life. Insight opens the door. Practice is what allows you to walk through it. As you move through your day, notice one moment where your body feels even slightly more settled, connected, or at ease. These moments matter more than you realize. They are not small at all. They're how a nervous system learns that healing is possible. I'm doing quite well. I'm doing quite well. Yeah, I was just reading a little bit about the nervous system because, that's my specialty, embodiment and the nervous system. And those things will help you heal. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So I've been on here for almost an hour and a half now. I think I'm going to head off at this point. And I appreciate you guys that all came and watched and hung out and the likes and comments and everything. Um, I will see you on Saturday for our Return to Center global meditation. And again, we'll talk about spirituality and healing and all those good things. So, yeah. I love you, and I hope you have a wonderful night.